from Facebook. But apparently Facebook has said, okay, you can stream live. We'll allow you. So that's what we're doing. All right. We are doing our thing. Facebook, YouTube. Hello, everybody. And we're going to be talking about email today. And I'm going to go ahead and get the recording started. So we have the podcast properly archived. Let me make sure that we got everybody's levels. Preferences real quick. Yes, that all looks just groovy. Okay, here we go. Oops, let me get my notes. There we go. You have probably heard the rumor that email is dead. But have you looked at your email account lately? If you're like me, you're getting a plethora of email every day. Businesses wouldn't be spending the time and the money to send out emails if they weren't getting a return on their investment. On today's podcast, we will explain the importance of having and maintaining an email audience and give you some easy-to-implement tips that will turn you into a rock star with your email list. I'm Lou Lombardi, a.k.a. Lou Dini, and we've got Joe Freeman with us as well today. You can, if you like what we're doing, please go to loulombardirocks.com and get more information about our mastermind, different courses and giveaways and things like that, loulombardirocks.com. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into the topic for today's podcast, which is the rumors of email's death are greatly exaggerated. So, first of all, Joe, Joe has you have a background. Why don't you refresh everybody's mind a little wee bit on your sort of qualifications to speak on email, because you have you have a little bit of experience with this.
Yeah, just a little. So I used to work for a printing company, and we would send out postcards and different direct mail pieces. And at some point in the process, we discovered that adding email to the direct mail piece going out upped the actual effectiveness of even the direct mail piece by, like, I believe at the time it was like 17%.
Okay.
And if you had personalization on that, meaning the email and the postcard had your name, maybe a specific offer to you, or a specific picture based on your gender, or, you know, what you liked. Like, here's an example I always use. If you're a pet lover, and I have a German Shepherd, right? I just got one 3 months ago. And if the pet store documented that I have a German Shepherd, and they send me a postcard and an email with a picture of a German Shepherd on it, especially if it has my pet's name and my name on it, then that open rate goes up like drastically. At that point, that open rate goes up to like 47%. It's so drastic because of personalization in it. Because I want to know, like, hey, they know my dog's name, or hey, they know I have a German Shepherd, so they know what they want to, what I need. You know what I mean? So if back then, which this was, I started doing all of this, like 20 years ago. Back then, if everyone was adding that email and it was driving up rates that well, then it was something that was a no-brainer, because emails to send out aren't expensive at all. Your autoresponder, depending on what you're using, or the software is a little bit more expensive. And if you're getting into the level of personalization I was doing, then that can get even more expensive because you have to have a technician. But it was a no-brainer to add those emails and drive up that percentage of open rate. Now, at some point, we started actually adding websites too. So we would send out the direct mail piece. We'd figure out when that direct mail piece was going to get there in the mail. We'd send out an email like a day or two before and a day or two after. And we would have a website for them to go to from the direct mail piece and from the email that also was personalized with the same message. So with a picture of the German Shepherd, maybe asking a few simple questions. Like if you didn't know my dog's name, maybe you're going to ask that. If you didn't know the age of my dog, maybe you're going to ask that, because the puppy food's going to change at some point. toys are going to change, things are going to change. So the more data they had on me, the more data I was willing to give them specifically, the more they can personalize that message. So all those different things made the responses so much higher when we did that.
Okay, so you have some, you worked with this company, you
Mhm.
got, you leveraging email, but today is 2020, right?
Right. So since
Does
then, I
anybody
dropped.
even care about email today? I get a gazillion emails every day.
Well, so since then, I actually left that company and started my own business creating sales funnels and email campaigns for entrepreneurs. And I've seen quite a few things. Okay. I've dealt with some people who are big in the ClickFunnels area. I've dealt with some people in other industries and seen their results based on their email, based on their ManyChat, based on, their social media profiles and so forth. And the thing you got to realize that even though this is 2020, each medium has its own use and its own restrictions. Not only does it have its own restrictions, but it has its own longevity.
Okay.
When I send out an email, I send out that email, it goes into their email account and they can still search it. They can see it in their email list. If your subject line is captivating to them, they have a more likely chance, depending on how fluent they are in checking their email, to see that than if you're posting on Facebook or, YouTube or somewhere like that, where I'm just a follower. A lot of times when you're on Facebook or somewhere like that, not everyone in your friends list sees the message.
Right.
But not only that, they're also in a highly distracted state in both of those mediums.
Good point.
Because things are popping up left and right.
Yeah.
So email's not dead at all. It comes down to where, email comes into their inbox and they can look at it, and a postcard comes to their mailbox. Now, a postcard is more expensive.
Right.
And most people don't want to pay for that until they have a higher qualified lead. So I would always say that email is like the step beyond social media. Maybe you're doing your social media and you're trying to get attention, but once you get their attention, you don't want to, they're going to still see your social media, but you want their email like that. It's highly valuable for you while you're running the business. And one thing a lot of people don't talk about is the value of that email if you were ever to change directions with your business or sell your business.
Okay, so you sort of answered my next question, which was, social media is a lot faster, it seems like, but there is a trade-off for that. Folks are in a distracted state, and the likelihood of people there's a lot of people who will say, well, didn't you see my post on Facebook? Like something, it might even be something really important, my mother's been in a hospital for a week. And, I'll run into somebody and they'll be like, well, I've been posting about it on Facebook. And I'm like, I didn't see it. So, right. So if you ever had experience like that, I think all of us have had experiences like that where, friends have said stuff like, dude, like, what are you doing? Like, I'm posting on social media, you're not seeing it. And that's a really good example right there. The thing I love about email now, for the audience listening here, if you're new, I'm sort of doing a devil's advocate kind of question with Joe here today. So just so you know that. But one of the things that is great about email is that it does give you an opportunity, unlike anything else, for the cost of it. You can't. I don't think it can be beat. I have, but here's the problem with email, and I want you to address this, Joe. A couple of things, so maybe we could kind of talk here. Getting started and staying consistent with it, because I think what happens with people, so I know people will listen to this and they'll go, "Oh, email, you're right. Damn, it's a great idea." And they'll send out a couple emails and then. So how do we get started? How do we keep going? How do we stay consistent with it? Give us some help us with this.
So I've struggled with this in the past too. I'm going to be very honest with all of you right now.
Okay.
when I was doing it in the printing company for clients, they would give me the content on the postcard and I would create the emails based on that content.
Okay.
But when I stepped out doing it for entrepreneurs or trying to do it for myself, it was complicated. Like, the first thing you have to know is exactly who your audience is, what they care about, and what problem or what desire are you solving for them. And most of you here will be solving some kind of desire, right? Because it's more of an emotional product. It's more of a product that's going to make them feel a certain way at a certain time, being music. So it's really hard to sit down and figure out, like, what am I going to write about in an email? So with that said, a lot of times what I'll do if it's a client is I'll go out and I'll follow their competitors. I'll go out and get on people's lists, get different examples, and I'll let that all come into an email that I create. It might be, music at orangetreemarketing.com. And I go out and, get on all the music lists that I can find. That's one way to collect things. There's also templates out there, but first off, know who you're talking to, know what your product is, know the desire or emotion behind that product, and then go out and find examples and start writing based on your personality or your product's personality, and take that content and make it interesting. If you want things to be opened in an email or in any social media, honestly, your subject line has to be captivating. It has to be something that's going to interest people to get them to take the next step and open the email. And then the first couple sentences in the email has to really continue that message and keep them captivated, and then go into the meat and potatoes of it. An email can be much, much longer than a social media post most of the time, because you have their attention at that point. You've taken them off of that very distractive medium. And you're trying to get them to take an action most of the time. And it may be something as simple as look at my newest album cover, or check out my idea for my album cover. Hey, I was at a concert last night and met this band that's so similar to mine. And, the guitarist played this riff that is actually in my song as well. There's different things you can do. Give them the backstage input on you and your product.
The backstage experience.
Yeah. Let them see it all if you can.
I think that there's a lot of different ways to skin this cat. And I want to read off some at some point, but by the end of the show, by the end of the podcast, I have a list here of different types of emails that'll kind of spark your mind to kind of go, so you don't feel like you're sending the same thing. Excuse me. All the time.
And if they're in our mastermind and they're like, hey, I need to send out an email on a new album I'm promoting, I'm going to put together a little collection of templates that, I can pass out there if you ask for them.
Okay, so go to LouLombardiRocks.com to get more information about getting involved in the mastermind, because there's a lot of extra resources there. But what I wanted to say about this is, just again, to take this a little bit further, you can – I don't want you to feel like you have to write some long diatribe. I don't want you to feel like it has to be and I'm making air quotes for those of you who are just listening, a newsletter. All right? It doesn't have to be. Some of the most effective emails I got, there's a guy I follow, he's a guitar player, he puts out original music, and very often I open his emails because he's like, hey, this is my latest song, check it out, and I like his music, and I want to hear his latest song. So, it'll be a link to his Reverb Nation or whatever to get a preview of his music. It doesn't have to be. Sometimes you have some days you have a lot to say, and some days it's review my album cover for me. Some days it's check out my new song. Some days it's something as I went to this great concert. Well, I saw this great concert on YouTube last night, and I want to tell you about it, or something like that. It doesn't always have to be something, because I think sometimes we feel like like it has. I think sometimes we make it overcomplicate. We overcomplicate it when it can just be talking. Just like you setting. So think of it as, I'm just sharing something. Imagine if some fans came backstage and you were just talking about what you do. What would be the kind of information you would share? What would you say? You don't have to necessarily spout some brilliant philosophical ideas. It can just be, this is what I've been doing. This is what, and it doesn't always, and I know it doesn't always have to be completely music related either. I mean, you do a lot of things. Music is part of your life. You could talk about other things that may be interesting, maybe an interesting movie you saw, anything like that can be like a little bit, be a part of it. You do want to keep them focused.
I would say also that you got to remember that email and social media is interactions with people who are either interested in what you're doing, do you think might be interested in what you're doing, or just fit that criteria.
Right.
So a lot of times your content, the more you're out there in both social media, email, and face-to-face, can be developed by simply that person coming backstage and being like, hey, how did you do that? Or, hey, why did you, whatever. Sometimes, they'll say something that'll spark an interaction with you that is easily shared with your audience. Because if that one person had that question, or that one person was wowed by something, then most likely someone else in your audience will be as well.
Exactly.
So create those interactions.
That's another way of looking at it. There is and I'll post a link in the description, is in the notes as well. But I'm just going to kind of roll down. This is from ActiveCampaign.com. ActiveCampaign just happens to be the autoresponder that I use. And I want you to explain what an autoresponder is in a second.
Mm-hmm.
But here's a couple of different things just to spark your imagination. A newsletter, which we said they don't always have to be newsletter, but maybe a newsletter. Maybe you make one email a month your newsletter, where you make it a little more fancy schmancy and you gussy it up and put some cool pictures in it or whatever. Another one could be a special offer. So if you're like, hey, for this week, I'm giving away when you buy my latest album, you get my second album as part of the deal for free. Okay, that's like, kind of a special offer. A milestone email could be, just telling the fans about, like, oh my God, I got 1,000. I have 1,000 followers now on YouTube. Or, I've hit some kind of milestone, maybe, sold tickets or something like that, just to kind of like say, this is a really cool thing, and I really appreciate you being a part of it. Joe and I sort of mentioned this a little bit, but a review request email, which would be like, I'm getting ready to release this song. I'd like your feedback on it. Or this is the artwork that we're considering using. I'd like your feedback on it. People love that. People love to talk. People want to give their 2 cents. I've discovered a long time ago, anytime you ask a question, people will you get more responses when you ask a question. Isn't that funny? It's kind of like in any situation, isn't it, Joe? Like if you're at a bar and you ask somebody something, if you want to try to get somebody to talk, ask them a question, right?
Well,
we forget
in any
that.
reaction,
yeah.
I forget what book it is I read, but it literally says that, if you're sitting there talking to someone and you're doing all the talking, they're not going to feel like that message and that connection is as strong as if you sit there and listen to them and just ask them a question every once in a while to get them to proceed on down that progression of their conversation, because they feel like you're such a great person, even though you may not, you're just sitting there listening. You're such a great person because you allowed them to express themselves. They have that deeper connection with you.
This should have been maybe the first one, but welcome email. So when somebody signs up for something or somebody takes you up on your offer, send them a welcome email. Curated content emails. Community, like a collection of different contact pieces related to a topic. You could be sharing content from other things. I like to use Google Alerts for stuff like this, whether we might pick as topics for our podcast, for instance. New product announcement. In your case, maybe new song announcement, new album announcement. You're going to do a Facebook Live where you're going to play a concert, or YouTube Live, you're going to play a concert. You give it like you want to make an announcement about that. This is a little more technical. Abandoned cart email. That's when somebody, clicks, yeah, they want to buy your CD, but for some reason they don't. You have something set up that goes out and say, hey, I noticed that you got stuck here. You need some help. What can we do? Thanks for the interest, etc. Progress emails. Seeking proof that our actions have made a difference. So you want to so this is an email where you can put out like, how's this working? How are you enjoying this so far? Did you like the record that you bought from me, etc. And then this is a very basic one, a confirmation email, just letting you know that your CD and T-shirt package is on its way. You should be receiving it within a week, something like that. That's an example of that. So this is just an example of, and there's tons and tons more that you can do. And Joe is going to be sharing some great stuff in the group as well. Joe, we don't send emails though like this just from like our Gmail, right?
No.
Or from Outlook or something like that. These emails are done through something called an autoresponder. Can you maybe explain what an autoresponder is and give a maybe short tutorial on that real quick?
Let's first talk about how you're probably getting these emails. So when you're getting these emails, most likely you're not all going out and buying a list of emails from a data aggregator somewhere and sending out a large email campaign in order for people to react to you. If you are, you're still going to need an autoresponder. And the reason why is because that autoresponder is going to send all those emails out to a large list of emails. And it's going to send the same message to those each individuals and manage those emails going out. You can't do that through your Google account one at a time or anything like that because, one, it's not legal, and two, it's just really hard to manage. So the autoresponder manages a large list of emails, sending out messages all at once. But to get the emails right now, most likely you guys are going to need what's called an opt-in page. Okay. So you're posting on social media.
Pause. Because there's a lot of definitions here and things like that. The autoresponder is for lack of it's an app, a program.
It's the system sending out the emails.
That manages the emails for you.
Mm-hmm.
So in other words, you can type that email one time. You could put it in there, you create it, and you can set it up to do different things. Like anytime somebody responds to your offer, these emails start to go out. You can send out individual blasts that will go to everybody. You can also segment. I want Joe to talk about segmenting when we get a little bit later on. There's a lot of different stuff that you can do. It's very, very difficult or impossible. Or as Joe said, Google and Yahoo and places like I don't want you doing this type of work with those email with your Google accounts. So this keeps all of that kind of squared up for you and organized, and you've got the list, and you can see who's subscribed. It also gives people a chance to unsubscribe so that you don't get in any kind of trouble like that, and you can keep track of absolutely all the comings and goings, and you can create different graphs and charts about what was successful, open rates and things like that. So this allows you to manage all of that. Can be done, and there are free ones and there are inexpensive ones, and then there's Infusionsoft. Okay, so that is what that is. I just wanted to kind of back up for a second and make sure people understand that. So go ahead. Well, you were going to go to what now? A landing page?
Yeah. So the autoresponder is a system that manages all that, and there's a ton of options for managing and tracking all your emails going out to a large audience. Yes. You don't have to have a large audience. You're better off to get into an autoresponder and learn it up front. One, I want to backtrack. So I was going to go into an opt-in page. So let me do that, and then I want to backtrack to something else.
Okay, sure.
So if you're creating your email list to have those names in the autoresponder so you can start messaging them and then get them to take the next action, whether that be download a album, go to an event, whatever the case may be. You need some way to capture those emails. So let's say you're posting on Facebook, or you've got a blog and you're writing articles, or you're on YouTube and you create a video. That's the initial contact. That's the way that you're grabbing their attention, giving them an introductory piece of content. And then from there, maybe you're offering something. It can be anything. It can be a download. It can be a lot of things. You need to capture their email in what's called an opt-in page. And literally an opt-in page is just like a message, like a headline. It could be a video, and then, give me your name and your email address to get XYZ. And if they enter their name and the email address and hit the button, from then that email address and name is sent over through software to your autoresponder, where then they're put into your autoresponder where you can do a ton of things. Okay. The initial message in the beginning of this was, is email dead? I was actually, when I decided to start my company, I was actually on this one girl's email list for 6 years and received all her emails for 6 years. And I would once in a while open them. And then one day she sent over something that just happened to resonate with me. I opened it up and I'm like, that's a safe, easy way to spend a little bit of money to start a business. And I'm going to try it. So I opened that email. I tried it. I contacted her, built a relationship with her. And then it initially got me like thinking, well, can I do this? Can I do that? And it pushed me down the path of creating my own business. So sometimes you have those email lists and you're building that up, and those people can be watching you for a really long time. It's not always like that, that they open an email and take an action. Some people are looking to see, like, does it fit me? Where am I at today? Is that something I really want to do? Maybe the headline of your music or the topic of your music doesn't resonate with me today, but something happens in my life and that song hits me at a time when I need it most.
Also, sometimes people are just entertained.
Yeah.
They're just entertained by it. I will give you an example. I'm on Eastwood Guitars mailing list. I haven't bought an Eastwood guitar. Been on their mailing list for about 3 years, but I like the little videos that they send out, and I like looking at the cool guitars. I don't open every one of theirs, but I open a lot of them. Could they get me as a customer at some point? They might. They haven't yet, but they might. So, you don't really know what people's mindsets are. Sometimes people aren't talking. That doesn't mean that they're not enjoying or listening or paying attention. It's a way for you, a very inexpensive way for you to say, and I'll use a marketing phrase here, stay top of mind when you show up in their email box. Oh, there's Lunini again. There's Joe from Orange Tree Marketing. I don't have time to read it today. If you forget about it, but Joe sends you another email a couple of days later, and you go like, "Oh yeah, that's yeah," and then you open it and you read it, and then maybe you don't read the next 3, but then you read the next 2. You do that. That's how your fans are doing things. That's how your fans are doing things too. You're going to have certain emails that are going to grab people. You're going to get high open rates. You're going to have others that kind of like lay there. That's all right. Not everybody's going to like jump on everything you do, and they don't have to. So.
Right. And it could be the same offer, but you say it multiple ways, because some people are driven by, like, Lou's highly driven by being entertained and by like a catchy little phrase or something that highly interests him. Some people are actually interested in like the logical part of things. You know what I mean? So you can write your emails in different ways and test different things to see what's going to resonate with who.
It all depends on the person's interest at the time, and it also depends on why they signed up with you in the first place.
Right.
If you are a guitar teacher, and somebody's interested in learning more about guitar, then your emails are going to be geared towards, did you know how to, let me show you how to do this, or, here's the reason why you can't play any faster, or, they're going to be intrigued by topics like that. Whereas, somebody who is a painter or, something like that, or writes short fiction or something like that, they're going to talk about different stuff, and their audience is going to be different, and their audience is going to have signed up for different reasons. So you have to kind of take that all into account there. And some of the, like I read you that list of type of emails, some of those types of emails you may never use. It's okay. And there's many others. If you do a search on Google for it, there's tons and tons of different styles or approaches to email. You have to kind of go with what fits what you do. I think the review thing, asking a question, posting related content, like for me with being, a musician in a certain niche, posting content about Black Sabbath getting back together or something like that, talking about how I would be really excited about that or something like that would be something that my audience would probably find interesting and might want to read. So it isn't necessarily about me, but it is about my niche. So things like that as well. It just depends on what you're going for. We want them to open the emails. We want them to be entertained, and we want them to take action. What I want to and we talked about mistakes last week. One of the mistakes that I think newbies sometimes run into with this is thinking that email is every email is a sales pitch. And you want to be careful. How would you go about that? How do you go about keeping it fun, entertaining, engaging, but also at the same point getting to the point where you can get them to take some action? What are your thoughts on that, Joe?
It really depends on that pre-frame once again, like what they saw from you and last and what they're looking for. Obviously, I don't want to send something that's like a joke or when I say a joke, I mean something really lighthearted that like is in your industry that would get them to like just think, you know what I mean, and maybe laugh. When they had just like bought something and really what they need is like how to use it. You know what I mean?
Good point, yeah.
So like you want to pre-frame them, you want to figure out what they were in last, and that kind of thing. But you've got the jab, left, right hook mentality about things that. Who was that to put that out? I forget their name.
Yeah, I forget.
But anyway, so it's more about, provide information, provide
entertainment,
value, provide something that builds the relationship, maybe something that entertains a little bit. And then once you have them, interested in whatever the product is, then say, hey, by the way, it is for sale now. You can go here to get it if you're interested. So like most of the time they say to have at least 4 interactions of providing value and information and entertainment before you go ahead and make the sale. It doesn't hurt though, and every expert has their own opinion on this. It doesn't hurt though to add the link for your funnel, your sales mechanism,
your upsell, whatever.
Yeah. In the footer notes, like, you may have, Joe Freeman, Orange Tree Marketing, bot cheat sheet or, sales funnel, checklist down in the notes, just so like that's giving value. But at the end of that, once they go through my funnel, they're being sold. You know what I mean?
Right.
So in your case, it might be, let's use Leah McHenry again as an example. You might say, hey, here's a new image I'm working on for this song. And the song's actually available over here on my site. So, you're talking about all the stuff that the song's about. Like maybe you're talking about dragons and, fall's coming. So maybe it's talking about change and it's very orange, and at the bottom, it's like, okay, go check out this song over here. And now when they go check out the song, she then sells like the last album she just did the year before that is of a similar nature.
Everybody who's listening to this, I'm sure you've seen a YouTube video or two. What does every YouTuber tell you? Don't forget to like and subscribe and smash the notification button. Okay? That is what I call the video version of the PS. And I would recommend that in every email you send out a PS. Don't forget, I have this awesome thing that you haven't bought yet or checked out yet, and you can get it here. It doesn't have to be the subject of the email. It can just be the PS. PS gets people's attention. I don't know what it is. We've talked about this with Becky Auer many times, that like you want to put a PS in every email, and that's where you want to like put a little like soft kind of like reminder that I have this really cool thing maybe you haven't checked out yet, and here's how to check it out. I know some people that when they send, and you can do this in your autoresponder. Your autoresponder will allow you to do what I'm about to tell you, is you can split the screen so that off to one side, maybe the right third of the screen has a little graphic with the cool t-shirt you're promoting right now. And you just leave that there. And you fill in the other side with the content. And maybe you don't say anything about it. You don't need to. You don't need to beat people over the head with it. But having that kind of always there, and as they're reading your email and being entertained and maybe laughing or whatever, they see that I'd like to get that. That shirt looks cool. I'm going to get one of those. People you buy and I buy and Joe buys and Carrie's not here today, but he buys. We all buy with those types of promptings all the time. For things, it's the I'm standing in line at the store and they have the little aisle there with the candy bars or I was in a store the other day and I'm looking for replacement buds for my earbuds, the little foamy things, and they have them right there. It's just so easy to grab a little shit like that as you're standing in line, whatever. So that's why stores do stuff like that all the time. They have in retail. Those of you who work retail, it's called an end cap. They put stuff on an end cap. That's the cheap stuff that you just grab and throw. That's the phone case or whatever that that looks cool. That's got your favorite Marvel character on it or whatever. And do you need it? No, but it's right there, and you're having a good time in the store. And like, I'll pick this up for $10. So that's another way. Having that little panel on the side there with that in a very nonchalant way. What did you say? Jab, jab, right hook. Is that what you called it? Jab, 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 right hook. I think what Joe's referring to there is this, and again, you don't have to do this, but this is just something that marketers have done and found effective. Is like 3 content emails, 1 sales email. So right. You send 3 content emails, you send a sales email. So you send 3 that are just like, hey, what's up? This happened to me, blah, blah, blah. Check out this. Oh, I have this thing, blah, blah, blah. I did this. Check out this. Is awesome. I know you love it. And then the 4th email is, hey, I wanted to let you know because I know you've been reading my emails that I have been, I put out this great package with, all my entire CD catalog, all the T-shirts I have, and it's only $99.97 right now for subscribers. And I just, don't know if you'd seen me talk about it before or not, but I wanted to let you know about it. It's really cool. And you hit them a little hard, less, not hard sell, but right, Joe, like a little more solid kind of direct kind of selling right there. Then you go back.
It's an actual call to action. So it's like, hey, I have it. Well, go check it out if you're interested. You know what I mean? You're letting them know that it's there, it's available, go get it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So there's like I said about 10 minutes ago, there's a lot of different ways to skin this cat. There's a lot of different ways, and I think sometimes that's the problem, right, Joe? Like sometimes when there's so many options and so many choices to do something, sometimes we get like analysis paralysis over it, right? I think as long as you're not hard selling out of the gate all the time, that I don't think you can. I think you just need to jump in, send an email. If you have an auto, like I do, I've got an autoresponder. I don't use it nearly enough. I need to, like, I'm preaching to myself. Send an email. Go send an email tomorrow, whatever. Just send an email. Start to build the habit of like, treating this just as serious as you treat. I mean, you go on Facebook and post BS and stuff like that, and funny memes and jokes and everything like that. So this is a way it's going directly to your audience. So why not take advantage of that? Go ahead.
My very first mentor in email outside of the printing company made me actually she gave me templates and gave me like 30 email templates and told me, fill these out, take the product that we're selling and make it more personal to you, and put 30 emails in an autoresponder, which some people that's like overwhelming.
Yeah.
But it forced me to have emails in there, and it forced me not to be perfect. And then what we did is we put it in the autoresponder, and I would go out and I would post on Facebook and social media. I push them into the autoresponder, and then the autoresponder would automatically, day 1, send out this email, day 2, send out that email, day 3, all the way through 30. And what we would do is we'd watch those emails and watch them go through the emails. And we'd be like, okay, well, no one's ever opening day 5. And for some reason, we have a lot of people unsubscribing on day 6. Let's change day 5's email. Or, they're going through and they really love day 4. Let's move day 4 up forward, or let's put more emphasis on day 4. So why I'm telling you this is because it literally forced me to get email out there and communicate with the people I was trying to get the product to. And it allowed me to get feedback and data from the people on what they were interested in that were going through my email list. So don't think you have to be perfect. Don't think the emails have to be perfect. An autoresponder, just like anything else, will allow you to experiment and get feedback from your audience.
Could you explain segmenting? Segmenting
Yes.
hurts my brain.
I'm going to give you an example of someone who segmented very badly.
Okay.
And why not to do a certain thing. And then I'm going to give you an example of what segmenting can do for you. Okay.
Okay.
So I had a client that they were selling a book, and they would post on social media. The people would go from the social media post, check out the book funnel. The book funnel was nothing more than a website landing page with a bunch of content and him talking about why this was in the fitness industry, why they needed to do a certain things to clear brain fog, to get healthy, so forth. But there were people who would go through and they'd buy that book. And his segmenting in his autoresponder, so marking those people as bought. So did they buy the book, yes or no?
Okay.
Was confusing to him, and he wasn't sure like who had bought and who hadn't bought, or he really didn't care. So he would still send emails to people, hey, buy my book, hey, buy my book, hey, buy my book, even though they bought the book.
They already bought the book. Okay.
Okay. So you're wasting a lot of energy. You are confusing and frustrating your audience. If they already have the book, like they physically have it, and maybe they need help reading it, or maybe they need you to summarize a certain thing to get the next result, or maybe they need a video or an audio part to help them.
Okay.
But you're still telling them buy the product they actually have. So you need to segment based on certain criteria. And the one criteria I would say most definitely you should segment on is whether someone bought or not, if you're selling a product. But there's other ways to segment as well. Segmenting can, segmenting is taking your whole audience. Once someone opts in and they go through all your marketing, you mark them as, okay, I'm going to use Lou as an example. Okay, this person is interested in, my album, or this person is interested in my podcast, or this person is interested in coaching for either guitar or vocals. Okay. and you mark them down in the autoresponder as being interested or being a member or buying. That way, you know what messages will resonate with them the most. You don't want to send someone, how do I put this? You don't want to send someone constant messages about vocals if they've already told you they're not interested. When they could more likely use your guitar.
The people bought the book and they kept on getting the emails. What he should have done was to segment his list, broke it off, like created like a Y intersection there. I'm making a hand gesture where the people that bought the book are now on a kind of different track in terms of the emails that they're going to get. They're not going to get emails about buying that book. They might get on a series of emails that maybe break down the chapters or do something like that, or at least aren't, reminding them to buy the book. Okay.
Right.
That's bad. That, like you see, it's frustrating. It's annoying. I mean, what's this guy talking about? It's confusing. So just to keep it very, very simple, it's got to go off in a certain direction, once somebody takes an action like that. You don't want to be beating them over the head to buy the book again. So that's in a nutshell is an example of what segmenting allows you to do. And again, the autoresponder will allow you to create, looks like a flow chart of where, if this, then that. They take this action, then they get this email and this, and this. That allows you to do that. I would recommend that if you're going to, once you start to get into segmenting, I would highly recommend that you work with somebody, because it's one thing to send out a daily blast. That's easy. I actually kind of like, this is what frustrates me with email, is the segmenting. I like communicating with with my fans, but the segmenting just scrambles my brain, because now I've got to make sure I didn't say this to that list, but I said that to this list, and I just want to talk to people. Just
write the emails and send them to me. I'll take care of that.
So what we're doing, without making this a big sales pitch, Joe does that kind of work. He can help you, keep that all together. So you might want to contact him, get some information on how he could help you with that.
But this stuff is also made so much easier than it used to be. Like I was talking about in a printing company, autoresponders allow you to design really nice looking emails with a drag and drop editor, and you can make them look really good and send them out.
Yeah.
Where in the past I had to write HTML and put JavaScript and coding in it.
Yeah.
It was a nightmare. And then segmenting, I used to have to write like long codes to say, okay, if this person did this, then go in and mark them as this. But it was like,
you had to be a programmer to do it. Right. No,
now autoresponders, like Lou said, it's like a little grid. You drag and drop, and it's if they say this, just make it go here.
It is definitely way easier than that, for sure. So I don't want anybody to get the wrong impression that you can't. These things they're really. I tell you what, and I have no dog in this fight, but I would just tell you, maybe if you've never messed with an autoresponder before, just go Google MailChimp, just to get screwing around with it, because it's free. I mean, you're not going to break anything. And start playing around with, putting it together and having a little bit of fun with it. And I think almost what this, like MailChimp's like everybody's like training wheels, I think, for email. For email, it's almost everybody
like
I know is like, I
Constant
started on
Contact
MailChimp.
or MailChimp.
What was that?
Seems like Aweber, Constant Contact, or MailChimp is like everyone's training wheels, and then they get into like, another software that either has it embedded, or they go into ActiveCampaign or Infusionsoft or something like
that. Right. So there's tons and tons of options. We're not here to sell you anything. That is up to you to kind of look at. Let me see what else that I wanted to hit before we. Is there any other points that I wanted?
So you have if someone unsubscribes, what
Oh,
should
yeah,
you
that's
do?
what I want to ask you because this can be, especially as musicians, we have very fragile egos and we want everybody to like us. And when somebody unsubscribes, it can be devastating. So,
Well, let's
how do we
first
deal with
talk
that?
about the fact that they have to subscribe. Legally, you can buy a list and send out one email, depending on the license you buy, but it's there are all kinds of email laws. So you want them to subscribe, you want them to raise their hand. That's the safest and legalist way to be able to then continue messaging them. And then if they unsubscribe, legally, you have to remove them from your list. You cannot continue to send them emails under that brand and that product. Obviously, if you have a different brand or a different message, they haven't unsubscribed from that list. But if they unsubscribe from a specific list, you have to take them off legally.
People will unsubscribe for all kind of reasons. And sometimes, sometimes you can't get you can't get your panties in a bunch over it. There's another coach out there, Carlos Castillo, and he's very ruthless with his list. And so this is the other side of unsubscribing, and maybe we could wrap up with this with you make a comment or two on this. Because he looks at it as you have to pay for your autoresponder depending on how many people you have on your list. And so if you do not interact with him after so many emails, he removes you. You no longer get, because he feels like you're not going to pay attention and I'm not wasting my time or my money. Screw you. I'm taking my toys and I'm going home. He doesn't say anything nasty to you like that, but that's what you just stop getting emails.
There's other reasons for that as well.
So, but is there, other than the person requesting to be removed, what are your sort of like thoughts on that sort of approach to that before we close for today?
So I said there's other reasons for that as well. And the reason being is because the amount of emails you send out, and this can get very technical, so I'm going to try to keep it simple. The amount of emails that you send out that either bounce or the amount of emails that go out that aren't replied to actually do affect your autoresponder. It actually affects the quality of your send out, especially if you start getting into large lists and you have to start thinking about things like custom domains and DKIM and SPF records. Most of you won't be doing that, but I like Carlos' process, and this is why. That is making sure that the amount of emails he is sending out are more likely to be opened and more likely to be interacted with. It is also removing any fake emails or emails that are actually traps. And they create traps to make sure that you're a legitimate sender, that you actually have people opting into your list. So if he's saying, okay, well, they're not being opened and I'm going to remove them, he totally wipes out the need for a cleansing process whatsoever. Lou, how technical do you want me to get on this kind of stuff?
That's as technical
I think
as
this
we're
is
going.
something you should probably call me on if you're worried about it.
I'm not
if you're
worried.
just starting out, you don't need to worry about it.
Yeah. I just wanted to kind of bring it up because it is something that he's floating out and some people may be questioning about. So anyways, guys, if you need more information on setting, you want some help setting up your email campaign or whatever, please go to loulombardirocks.com. You can join you can join our mastermind for free. That's not going to stay that way. But check it out, loulombardirocks.com. If you need to get a hold of Joe Freeman, you can get a hold of him through loulombardirocks.com. He will, what that does, that opens a bot in Facebook and you can request him. Or Joe, what's the email address for you again?
Yeah, it's joef@orangetreemarketing.com.
All right, guys. Email. Get into it. Get started with it. Send an email today. Send me an email. I love getting email. Just as long as it's not crap. No crap. All right, guys. Hey, it's thank you guys so much for hanging out. I hope it was informative. If you have any questions, drop us a line. And don't forget, the link is LouLombardiRocks.com. We'll catch you all in the next Loudini Rock and Roll Circus Musicians Mastermind. Okay? Boom. In the can, as they say.
Yeah, I think that was a pretty good one.
That was excellent.
But I was doing a lot of talking, so maybe it's just my impression.
To save the project. I have a couple things all came at one time. I got elected as networking education coordinator for my BNI chapter, so I had to take courses and study and do stuff for that. And I'm also getting my state inspection license. So that has really taken those two things taken a lot of my time over the past couple of weeks. The state inspection thing there's like 20 hours of classes you have to go to, and there's a lot of studying and everything like that. I take the final on Monday, and after that will be behind me. So I really don't even know what's going on with anything else. I did get another podcasting client from a referral.
Nice.
So I'm supposed to talk to her this weekend, and we're supposed to solidify the details. Are you no longer in Becky's mastermind? Or are you taking a break? Or
I just can't participate because John's homeschooling is literally from 9 o'clock until 3 o'clock every weekday. Okay. So I can't be there. It sucks.
Yeah. All right. Because we had it, and I didn't see, and I just was I just wanted to ask you about it. So
one thing if we're not going to have a regular meeting every week, I decided this morning, in order just to keep myself accountable and to keep you updated, I'm going to create some kind of report or some kind of just summary of what was, where we're at on things. So that if you have the time to read it, at least it's there. It'll keep me accountable. And it will keep you updated.
No, I need to get back. Once this BS is behind me with this, we can get back. We can start having some meetings and stuff like that. But just let me get this out of the way. I just really need to concentrate on it because I run the business, but I don't do the work in the shop. And so it's really a lot for me to kind of take all this in and be able to pass the tests and everything, I have to have it because as the business gets legally handed over to me, I should have that in order to maintain the shop as a state inspection station. I don't want to lose that because it's a big part of that'd be a giant blow to our business if we lost that. So I got to make sure I stay on that. So I got to get that done. It's just one of those things in life. Sometimes you got to bite just like with your son, you got to bite the bullet and teach, go to school with him. There's nothing, you know what I mean? It's just life. And it's one of those things right. I just got to bite the bullet and just do the thing. And no sense in crying or complaining about it. Just one of those things. So, all right, Joe, We'll be in touch this week. Okay.
All right. Sounds good.
Take care, buddy. I'll see you later, man.
You too. Bye-bye.